This is Birmingham, and these are the final preparations for an historic event. As part of Steam Narrowboat Presendent's 90th birthday celebrations, she's about to embark on a fly run. 24 hours non-stop from Birmingham to the Presendent Boat Show. This area, between Broad Street and the Old Turn, is part of the recent regeneration of the centre of Birmingham. Just outside the Sea Life Centre, Presendent and her butty Kildare pause for a special ceremony. Presented by the Black Country Living Museum, a giant birthday cake. Working shifts on the fly run are 8 crew members, organised into 2 crews of 4 people. Some of them have already been on Presendent for 4 days, bringing her to Birmingham from her home at Dudley.
Okay. All right, Ron.
Presendent and Kildare once carried cargoes for one of the best-known canal-carrying firms, Fellows, Morton and Clayton. Their livery reflects the 19th century Canal Boat Registration Act, which ruled that all boats should show their names in white on black. Seated on Kildare's crutch is Managing Director of Braunston Marina, Tim Colin. He's seeing the boats off on the first part of their journey to the old FMC depot at New Warwick Wharf. Known as the Old 13, this is the Farmer's Bridge flight of locks, dropping 81 feet on the Birmingham and Fazeley Canal. Kildare will now have to be bow-hauled for nearly a mile. The narrow locks mean that Presendent and Kildare will have to work separately down the flight. The British Telecom Tower is Birmingham's tallest structure. Once, over 100 wharves lined Farmer's Bridge alone, and narrowboat traffic was so heavy that 24-hour working was essential. But now, as Presendent approaches Ashted Bottom Lock, the scene is very different. Presendent and Kildare are Josher boats. When FMC built the first iron steamer flyboats, the replacement of wood enabled them to create a new fine-down hull design. This design was named after Joshua Fellows, the managing director of FMC. The trademark of the Josher is the distinctive double curvature of the hull.
There's a nice handy bollard just there.
The ash from Presendent's boiler fires needs to be cleared out and disposed of cleanly. But during the early years of the 20th century, when there were many steamers on the canals, the ash was recycled. Responsible for keeping their length of the canal in good order, every lengthman kept a good pile of ash. It was used for lightening clayey soil, building up the towpaths, or for scattering on the lock gates to make them less slippery to cross in frosty weather. Pausing to ash out gives a good opportunity to load up the bunker with fresh coal. Presendent will use 3 tons on this trip, and the bunkers will need to be refilled every 5 to 6 hours. Kildare has caught up with Presendent. The next pound is longer, and so for a while Kildare won't need to be bow-hauled, but instead can be towed by the engine, giving the crew a welcome break. Beyond the long railway bridge lies the official start of the fly run. President's well stocked up with coal and ready for the off. But where did it all begin? At Dudley in the West Midlands, on a branch off the Birmingham Old Main Line Canal, is the Black Country Living Museum. On the 26-acre site, there are many historic buildings from all around the Black Country. They're brought to life by costumed guides who staff the houses, the school, and the various shops like the sweet shop. Supporting the activities of the museum and upholding Black Country traditions are the Friends of the Museum and many specialist groups who have a particular interest in one aspect of the museum's living history. The specialist group responsible for maintaining Presendent and her butty Kildare is called Friends of Presendent. Their chairman is David Powell.
Friends of Presendent was formed by the Black Country Museum to operate and maintain Presendent, the steam-powered narrowboat, and we have 120 members, of which probably 30 or 40 are active, and we maintain boats in the winter and take them on trips around the system in the summer.
One long-standing member of Friends of Presendent is Ron Spencer.
I'm been a member of the Friends of Presendent for about 10 years, and it's only in the last 5 years when I've really started to work on the boats, because I was working earlier, and now I have a more leisurely, supposedly leisurely occupation. It's called retirement. However, it is really enjoyable work. We like to see the boats on the canals, and that is part of our job as being Friends of Presendent.
Another active member of the Friends is Ron's wife, Judy Spencer.
At first we just gave our support because we thought they would need our membership fee. You don't think that you would aspire to do anything as special as crewing Presendent, but then you realise that maybe you could have a go. Once having had a go, I realised it was very addictive, and I've kept on ever since. I've been crewing since 1992, and I just wish I'd discovered it when I was a bit younger, and then I could have got more years in.
The group that we have are very, very good. We have a committee of 8 people. We meet about 6 or 7 times a year here at the museum. There's a fair amount of work to be done in coordinating trips, publicity, sponsorship. It's thoroughly enjoyable, and over the years we've had some great success stories.
While the Friends have been working on Kildare, 3 miles away at Braidley, one of British Waterways' 5 workshops, Presendent has been in dry dock. Her hull is checked regularly. Friends are very conscious of the age of her iron plates and the possibility of wear on her wooden bottom. The 2 dry docks are constantly in use as Braidley build and maintain all sorts of craft. Also made here are all the replacement lock gates for the Midland region, some 60 lock sets a year. This is a good opportunity to remove all the rubbish picked up by the blades. Presendent's hull is fine, but what about the steam plant? Chief Engineer David Stott.
There's nothing special to be done prior to the fly run. We just hope that everything is going to work, and generally speaking it does. As regards running the engine for a long period of times, if anything, it's happier than very short bursts. The hotter an engine is, particularly a steam engine, the more reliable it is, and provided that you keep all the components lubricated, it'll just go on forevermore. That and plenty of coal on the boiler, of course. But steam has been a lifelong passion, and here's a wonderful opportunity to be able to indulge in it.
This is New Warwick Wharf, formerly a Fellows Moreton and Clayton depot. Both Kildare and Presendent traded from the wharf, carrying spices and tea, soap and sugar, and even bedsteads and bicycles. In November 1940, Kildare's career was temporarily interrupted here by a German bomb.
The steamer depot was actually just the other side of that Narrows. Right. This is the Paisley Street Wharf. This is where Kildare was actually sunk, just in here.
Crewing the pair in summer, especially in the engine hull where it can be 20 or more degrees Fahrenheit above outside, is thirsty work. There are 3 engine men on this trip. One is Simon Nuttall.
I started when I was 18, and I've been a driver now for about 5 years, so it took 7 years to become a driver, which is fairly standard practice. Because you've got a lot of responsibility. The problem is not really whether or not I can provide the steam to get us from A to B, it's whether I can do it safely without letting 5,000 gallons or whatever scalding hot water over everybody, killing them and myself in the process. So safety is absolutely paramount with any live steam application.
So why does Simon enjoy President?
I spend my life as an accountant pushing figures, and what I like to do when I do get a chance is to come along, fire the boiler and gain a lot of satisfaction out of being able to do something which people have done for at least 100 years. That is transform coal and water into steam and power, turn what's a cold boat into a living thing. Life with Presendent is very rarely plain sailing. She draws 3'6" to 3'9", and most modern boats draw 2 foot, 2'6". So the thing we dread most of all is getting stuck on the bottom.
There are many key skills needed for this fly run. One skill, not seen from the towpath, yet absolutely essential, is managing the galley. It's Judy again. For the past few days, she's been busy shopping and planning all the menus for the fly run. So what's for dinner tonight?
Savoury mince, most of us having savoury mince, with cauliflower, carrots, cabbage, and very nice fresh new potatoes. And then to follow, we're having apple and cinnamon crumble with custard. We do have some non-fruit eaters as well, which is a slight problem, so they're not having the crumble, they're going to have cake and custard.
What's that? Fibre optic what? 33,000 volts what? 22.
Oh, Dave! Dave!
Steamer crews would probably have grabbed their meals on the run during off-duty periods. But after all the preparations for the fly run, today is a celebration, and a companionable break to enjoy Judy's cooking seems fitting. These warehouses at Sampson Street were built by the Grand Union Canal Company in the 1930s. They mark the end of the broad canal from the south. And now the hard work really begins. Bringing a number of skills on board is driver Eddie Oates.
Originally, I had ideas about a career as an engineer at sea, and I did do an initial period with a steamship, but really I suppose a lot of my experience with steam has been involvement with the Bluebell Railway, and I suppose it's a convenient mixture of knowing about old machinery and marine practice as well. The safety standards you need are the same. I mean, there may be beautiful old boats, but you know, they're big and heavy, and steam is always something you've got to treat with great respect.
Eddie has been involved with Presendent for 14 years and is well used to her vagaries.
I think it's always wrong to say it would be easy with Presendent, because the canals have altered very much over the years. They're not maintained for the deep draft of working boats now, so there's always the possibility of getting stuck. And you never quite know what these old boats will have in store for us in the way of a surprise.
But this is one problem that isn't entirely a surprise. With the light fading fast, just a few miles further on at Bridge 86 in southeast Birmingham, Presendent has got stuck on the bottom. Dave Stott's been called out of bed to help because Presendent's also developed a mechanical fault. And to make matters worse, it's now raining.
I was trying to reverse on, yeah, and that's when it pinged off.
That's right. It's the reverse eccentric.
Yeah.
Like a Duraglic tin, but smaller.
It looks like the eccentrics come off, or something of that nature.
The bearing of it itself, it's just a throttle style, I think, and it's thrown itself out.
Yeah. Oh, we're doing quite well then. It's about halfway even.
One of the rods that controls the valve gear for the cylinders has come loose. This was quickly remedied, but even with the engine running again, there's still a problem. Unloaded, Presendent weighs 16 tons, and today she's also carrying a cargo of coal. And she's stuck fast.
We'll try going back.
Not fair, this. People have enough practice doing this.
Pulling Presendent forwards hasn't helped, and the crew are getting a bit worried. They decide to try a different tack.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, I think it is a little bit. It's bubbling up here.
Pulling Presendent backwards finally gets her free.
All the way to Warwick.
But Presendent still can't get clear.
Stuck again.
Fortunately, the crew now has a lot of help in the shape of some local lads.
Okay?
Ready? Heave! Heave!
Relax!
Presendent's finally free, but the stoppage has cost precious time, over an hour. It's also cost number 1 crew a lot of sleep. They'll need to catch up while crew 2 finish their shift. Jude is still steering, but before she took up her post, she finished her other duties. The galley's clean and tidy, and Jude has also made certain the crews will be sustained throughout the night. And it looks as though they're going to need it.
Are they under cover? I don't think they are. Not the amount of water that's falling in front of Presendent.
After the long hot day, the weather has broken into a summer storm. It's a true cloudburst. Water's already beginning to seep in under Kildare's cloths. The boats are at Catherine de Barnes, and the shelter of the M42 motorway bridge is still some distance away.
Just check with no water coming in.
The crew need to find and stop the leaks, or the floor will be flooded and the beds soaked.
Some coming in, Dave. All right.
But in the past, the boats have survived worse trials. Their history has been traced and preserved by the Friends of Presendent archivist. And that's my job. Presendent was launched in May 1909 at Saltley, the FMC Fellows Morton Clayton dockyard in Birmingham. And she cost actually £600 to build. She was registered in June of that year and almost immediately started initially on the London to Birmingham run, and later we have a feeling that she transferred to the London to Nottingham and Leicester run. They were called the Woolly-backs. She worked this life until May 1925, when the old steam engine was taken out and it was replaced with a Bollinger semi-diesel engine. From then on, she ran as a motorboat, firstly for Fellows Morton and Clayton, then she was sold to Ernie Thomas, another well-known boat owner. He leased her to George and Matthews Limited, and finally she was sold in about 1948 to British Waterways. She spent her life with them as a maintenance boat, working in the northern part of the country, and then in 1973 she was on the scrap heap. They'd finished with her. The old Bollinger engine was taken out, and almost as a wreck she was put up for auction, lying in the River Weaver at Northwich. And it was there that Malcolm Brain, and he saw and recognised the proud name Presendent just visible on the cabin side. Malcolm took her in tow up the Anderton lift and down the Trenton Mersey Canal, and then back to his dockyard at Norton Keynes in Birmingham. where he actually sank her, left her in the water, where they're better preserved. And then in 1976 he pulled her up onto the heart of his works and started to strip down the old woodwork. He put a new bottom in her for most of her length, rebuilt part of the bow, rebuilt part of the stern, but left a lot of the wrought iron plates that were down on either side of the hull. He then built a brand new boatman's cabin on her, exactly to the specification of the original. And in 1978, she finally took to the water again on a little trial run, only half a mile or so down to Pelsall Junction and back to Norton Keynes. But that trip saw a Joshua steamer back on the water after some 35 years. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and finally the storm has cleared. Presendent is working down the 5 locks of the Knoll flight. The locks feel as though they are in the middle of a series of lakes, as there are wide pounds between them. The original 6 narrow locks were replaced by these wide locks in the 1930s. At night, the crew use paraffin lanterns. These are both authentic and very practical because they don't dazzle the eyes. Destroying night vision can be very dangerous, especially on the lock side.
Say no paddles.
No paddles for a minute, yeah.
In the deep night, illuminated just by Presendent's lamp, lock walls and gates take on an eerie appearance. Throughout the night, the crew off duty will be resting in the basic living accommodation provided on Kildare. Although she is now a support vessel, the Friends of Presendent have carefully retained Kildare's working appearance and character. Kildare, just like Presendent, has a long working history. Kildare, she was launched in 1913 at Braithwaite and Kirk in West Bromwich and worked for FMC until 1948 when she was sold to Ernie Thomas. She in turn passed through the ownership of Willow Wren. While she was there she was Snipe. Then she returned to her old name, went to the Warwickshire Flyboat Company, and from there came eventually into the ownership of the Black Country Museum. And Friends of Presendent then worked on her, restored her to her original form as she had been when she was launched. It's 5 o'clock in the morning and the new day is dawning. Presendent is between Rowington and Shrewley and is steaming well. On a steam narrowboat, unlike a diesel, the steerer has no direct control over the engine. Engine direction and speed are controlled by the engine man in response to bell signals from the steerer. He has to judge the level of the fire and the level of the water in the boiler to ensure there's always the right amount of steam pressure to meet the steerer's requirements. The engineman needs to be both continually alert for signals and very familiar with the route.
Morning, world.
Known as the Stairway to Heaven, the Hatton flight consists of 21 locks. They cover a total drop of 140 feet in 2 miles. Presendent and Kildare will take some 4 hours to work down. The rising indicators give an easy reference to the position of the hydraulically worked paddles. Presendent's steam plant operates at £100 a square inch. The boiler, as a pressure vessel, has to be looked after carefully, or it could become dangerous. Chief Engineer David Stott is responsible for both maintenance and for stripping down the boiler each year so that the boiler inspector can confirm that it and all its fittings are safe. Once the boiler is reassembled, the inspector returns for a second visit to confirm that its performance in steam meets safety parameters and that the safety valve operates correctly. There are 5 grades of crew for Friends of President. After an introductory weekend, members start off at crew grade. They become steerers after experience on trips, and they can then progress to engine room training as assistant drivers and drivers. Captains have achieved all other grades, along with a thorough knowledge of the boats and the leadership skills to operate them safely. The judging of levels is carried out by senior captains and engine men. They've been on the flight now for an hour and a half, and the boats are 9 locks down. Fortunately, Presendent and Kildare can work breasted up, thus saving time and labour. But in the heyday of the steamer, these were narrow locks, and the engine and butty had to be worked through separately. The Northern Grand Union was widened in the early 30s to attract more Birmingham traffic. The current engine is not original. It dates from the late 1800s and so is older than Presendent itself. David Stott.
The original engine was a compound engine, implying that the steam was used twice, allowed to expand once in a high pressure cylinder and then pass to a low pressure cylinder where it was expanded again. And so you virtually use all the energy that is available in the steam.
The current engine also operates differently from the original.
The engine is a twin cylinder simple, means that there's 2 cylinders. Simple simply means that you use the steam only once. This one, of course, is very uneconomical because majority of the steam goes straight up the chimney, and that's why it goes chuff, chuff, chuff along the canal.
The current engine may be more inefficient, but there are compensations. In the cold morning, the billowing steam is very beautiful. On this busy flight, meal times have to fit in with the work. But one crew member who finds the hard work a relaxing change from his normal job is Dave Powell's brother-in-law, steerer Richard Franklin.
I'm a deputy manager in a registered care home in London for adults with mental health problems. So that can be, well, they can be fairly demanding and fairly challenging. So again, this is very relaxing really. It's something completely different, and another nice thing about, well, any run with Presendent, but you've got a nice crowd of people, you've got a good crew, and even people that you don't know at the beginning you know pretty well at the end, and it's about teamwork, isn't it really?
And it looks as though a lot of teamwork will be needed again. At Royal Leamington Spa, Presendent gets stuck once more.
You just never know what's going to be on the bottom of the canal. We did report a blockage once, and it turned out to be several safes that had been dumped in a bridge hole.
A lot of rubbish is dumped in canals, and British Waterways spend substantial sums of money every year trying to keep them clear.
As we were coming along here, there's obviously something in the bottom of the cut. So we rocked and rolled a bit, took the power off, hoping to float over it, but we're still stuck absolutely solid on it. We can't go forward or back.
But just in the nick of time, help is at hand. Going through is a pleasure boat steered by an experienced boatman. He's offered to help tow Presendent and Kildare off the obstruction. This is a job that will have to be done very carefully, to avoid damage to President's hull. Even though the Ducks are winning at the moment, the tow has been successful. While Simon releases the tow, Kildare is being steered by his father, George Nuttall.
My son, Simon, he's always been into steam and to steam narrowboats and that kind of thing. And I looked for an opportunity of being able to share some time with him. He's married now, so we don't see a lot of each other. But I come on it just to be with my son, you know, and to spend some time together and to enjoy the kind of thing he enjoys.
How does George feel about President?
I mean, I think this is a great boat. It's, you know, it's full of history. I enjoy being with the people on the boat who enjoy President, and you can see their passion. You enjoy their interest.
What does George think of the fly run?
No, this is the first time that I've ever done an overnight run this time. I thought it was a great privilege, particularly just in the early morning hours when the dawn was just breaking and you got the kind of steam and the light sky. It was absolutely glorious, you know. One of the spin-offs of being on Present, I think, is that I've learnt a lot more about what it means to be part of a working narrowboat and what the working narrowboat life would have been like. So that I found, you know, quite fascinating.
Steamer working was arduous. The men worked shifts of approximately 3.5 hours. Changes of shift were organised by route locations like Camp Hill, Knoll and Hatton. A pair were crewed by 7 men. If the engine was working alone, there were 4 crew members. So that there was always a senior man on duty, the captain worked with the assistant driver and the mate worked with the driver. The crews had to be self-reliant when problems arose, something that still holds true today.
The funnel, of course, is hinged. This is necessary when you're going through very low bridges. But of course that does mean it's rather vulnerable, and if you're not alert, where you've got overgrown trees on the cut, a branch can very easily catch it and knock it over. And the result is it's now been distorted and it's not sitting down on the lower flange. If this happens, then it starts pulling air in through that gap, which obviously affects how the fire is pulling, and that affects steam production. We need a black country screwdriver, which is a hammer, and you just simply knock 7 bells out of it and still it sits down in its correct position.
You enjoyed that, didn't you?
Pardon?
You enjoyed
That's it.
Friends of President think it's important to keep the fly run tradition alive. Their first fly run was between London and the Braunston Boat Show in May 1991. It was the first steam fly run on the canals since the 1920s. Other memorable runs have included the first long-distance trip in May 1990, carrying the statue of James Brindley from London to Stoke-on-Trent. Another was in 1992 from Ellesmere Port to London, collecting along the way 38 tons of food for a children's hospice in Romania. But all this hasn't been achieved easily.
In the early 1970s, when Malcolm Brain restored President, he had quite a major problem finding suitable steam plant to put in the boat. He found a boiler which was more or less identical to the boilers that were used originally. That in 1989 unfortunately failed, simply just wore out. The new boiler is based upon the design used, but of course unfortunately it's not riveted, it's a welded boiler. It's known also as a dry back boiler as opposed to a wet back. This means the internal combustion chamber is external to the pressure plate. as opposed to being part of the pressure vessel itself. The boiler simply consists of a large round vessel, which is the pressure vessel, and the two end plates are pierced by a tube approximately 2 feet in diameter. And it's in this tube that the fire sits on fire bars. The hot gases from that fire go to the back of the boiler and then come back through the boiler through 72 2-inch diameter tubes. And they then sort of come out into the smoke box, which is at the front of the boiler. And so one of the funny characteristics about this boiler is that the chimney sits immediately above the firebox. Those tubes, which are carrying the hot gases, are surrounded by water. And so they transfer their heat to the water boils, the steam, which is then captivated inside the pressure vessel, is then piped to the engine, and all the ancillaries enabling the plant to operate. Obviously, as the boiler is operating, it's boiling the water away to make steam. This must obviously be replaced, otherwise it would boil dry, and which wouldn't do it any good at all. So the water comes from the canal. We filter the water through coarse filters and then through a series of fine filters before passing it to the injector or a steam pump. That gives us two means of getting the water into the boiler. The coal we use in the boiler is known as steam coal. It's hard and it burns very, very clean. It's got very, very low volatile material in it, which gives the smoke. And so it just produces a lot of heat. As the coal industry has changed over the last few years, the sources of this coal has decreased. And we have quite serious problems at times finding good grade steam coal. And in an average day's cruising, we use approximately 1/4 ton a day, which is around about 15-25 kilogram bags of coal a day.
President's coal is currently mined in South Wales by the private Tower Colliery. South Midland Water Transport deliver it by canal. This is Basket. It's actually 2 locks in one, forming a staircase, with the middle set of gates and paddles shared by both chambers. Friends of President pay sharp attention to authenticity. The clothes that they wear are as close as possible to the original uniform worn by FMC staff. The shirts were collarless and crew members wore light cords, probably of an undyed natural material. When in the engine hole, the engine men wore blue boiler suits. But attention to detail can often be uncomfortable. In inclement weather, the crew wear donkey jackets, which absorb rainwater and can therefore become very wet, cold and heavy. Staircase locks like Basket are used when the drop in land height is too steep for one lock, and the need for extensive containing earthworks render 2 locks separated by a short pound impractical. This type of lock can be hazardous for the inexperienced boater. Because the middle paddles are shared, using them at the wrong time can result in complete draining of the higher lock chamber or the flooding of the lower. To avoid damage to boats, or worse, the sequence of working has to be followed very carefully. With Basket locks safely behind, there are just 2 more flights to work, the Stockton 10 and the Calcut 3. At Nethercote, the Grand Union Canal has been newly dredged. So, fittingly for the final triumphant run into Braunston, the crew can open up the engine and demonstrate just how well the Joshua boats handle in deeper water. In shallow water, President's steerer has to be constantly alert to the position of the channel so as not to run onto the mud. The engine must also run slowly, as the faster the speed of the engine, the more downwards drag will be generated by her big propeller. Friends of President pop up everywhere. This is Maurice Parker, one of the engine men. After more than 40 miles and 76 locks, the fly run's nearly over. Journey's End. Lying at the heart of England's waterways is the site of this year's boat show, Braunston Marina. Braunston has been a main boat building and maintenance centre since the 1830s. It's just before 8 in the evening, and ready to welcome President is Tim Colin.
That is brilliant. Are you going to have a good night's sleep now?
I had one for an hour this afternoon.
You're here tonight. Till tomorrow morning. You have to get up de bonheur. We always do.
So we'll put the butty
outside. 3 cheers for President!
President is guest of honour at the opening party for the Braunston Boat Show, and a large crowd has come to greet her.
Let's recall memory now.
Press recall memory, absolutely. Thank you, Dave. Finished engines after 30 odd hours or whatever. Hello.
Are you still there?
But there's a final few jobs to do before the trip can be said to be truly over. Tim's only too happy to lend a hand to the cruise. But at last, it's time for President's big moment.
Get him out, camera! There's a birthday party! You better come up here. Can I give you a hand up?
I managed it.
Oh, look at that! It's. Now, let me just tell you about 2 things, really. It was an old tradition of Braunston that when the steamboats came in, the Fellows, Morton and Clayton steamboats, the people came down from the village and used to give them a cake. The grand families who used to live, because the men used to live on the boats and the girls would come down and bring a cake. And secondly, this also is, bar a few days, the 90th birthday of President. She was commissioned in June 1909. Young Pam Rhodes from the BBC to cut the cake for President and to wish her, what would you say? You're used to this sort of thing.
I hope you all join me in wishing the President a very happy 90th birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear President. Big shot. Happy birthday to you.
And with President's steam plant already attracting admirers, it's finally time to share out the cake.
Thank you. That's fine, don't worry, we'll survive.
Where's the beers then, Tim?
I'll have that one.
We've specially dredged that length from Napton to here, at some expense I may say, so you should have made good speed on it.
It's lovely, isn't it?
You had a bit, yes?
Sorry?
We had a bit.
Oh, all right, son, yeah.
Now the hard work is finished, the crew can relax and celebrate their achievement in style. Even the weather has joined in. It's a warm May evening, perfect for the event.
Well, yes, exactly. Yes.
It's got a bigger fire, it's all just scaled
But
up.
how do they feel now the trip is over?
I think it's the third fly run I've done. Yes, they are fantastic. Wonderful experience. Hard work, I'm tired, but yes, it's a wonderful experience.
Tired. Very tired. Especially from working down in the engine room here. 30 hours non-stop certainly takes it out of one. I think I need another week's holiday to rest and recover from it before I go back to work.
Currently, I don't feel it's quite all over yet. We've arrived here and we had a superb trip. With its difficulties, the stunning thunderstorm that we went through during the night just emphasised the whole arena of it. It was really a superb trip. We've been glad to have the company we've had, We all got on well together. It's been brilliant. We're glad we got here, especially to celebrate the birthday. And I just feel that this show will go and enhance President even more. And I think we'll have more fly runs in the future. Anyway, that's how I feel that it's gone. And I think I'm proud to be on it as well. So, yeah.
Oh, very happy. I've enjoyed it. I even enjoyed the rain and the work and the dirt. But I'm tired, yes. But other than that, yeah, it's been great. Great fun. Yeah. Great crew, great company. Yeah, really nice.
Well, it's been a great time. The crew have been wonderful and elated for getting here, almost on time, and for the welcome we had at Braunston Marina. It's absolutely fantastic. And to say we would do it again would be a lie.
It's Saturday morning, and the Braunston Boat Show is well underway. This year, Presendent and Kildare have the prime mooring space right by the entrance to the marina. Later, as part of the 90th birthday celebrations, Presendent will have the honour of leading the parade of historic working boats to open the boat show. But in the meantime, the visitors to the show are welcoming the opportunity to inspect the engine room. It's an evocative sight, but there's still more work planned.
Some years ago, in fact 3 years ago, we made the decision that if it was at all possible, we'd try and have a replica engine built, and so that the boat would be as it was built in 1909. All we've got are some old photographs taken of an engine which was stood on the bank before it went into one of the new boats. And it's from this photograph that we're now hoping to produce the drawings and the plans to build a new engine. From the photographs of the old engine, it is now possible, particularly with computer-aided design, to extrapolate the major dimensions of the engine. But that, of course, is only the external dimensions. What it can't show you is what is inside. What's the size of the piston? What's the size of the valves? What's the size of the steamways? This then has got to be calculated. And so the people that are going to be doing this will be going back to the original technology which was used at the turn of the century in designing steam engines. And so you start off with what horsepower do you want, therefore what amount of steam do we want, and what is going to be the flow of the steam at any given point within the engine. And so all those calculations have got to be made, which are then translated into the components that you're going to build. The main difference between the existing engine and the one that we're hoping to put in, of course, is the new one will have a jet condenser on it, which means then that the steam leaving the low pressure cylinder will go into a condenser instead of up the funnel. And so as Presendent goes along the cut now, that everybody will hear it coming because it just sounds like a railway locomotive, it will in all respects be totally silent, apart from the odd clicking of the valve gear. And so that will be a major transformation. But what we're planning to do is to put a diverter valve, and so that you can, for the events like today's show, put the exhaust straight up the funnel, and so it still goes chuff, chuff, chuff.
This year, the special guest invited to open the show is a former moorer at Braunston Marina, the actor, David Suchet. David is fascinated by the logistics of handling Presendent.
You stand here.
And how did you ever see the end of the boat?
You've learned. You can't see the front of the boat, but you know where it is. You do it by balance. You do it by.
It's like driving a car, you can't see the front of your bonnet, can you?
So you do it by the banks?
Yes, that's exactly
the banks
right.
on the canal?
Yes.
While the friends answer questions, Tim Colin is organising a presentation ceremony.
You got the mayor? Oh, the mayor, come forth!
The honour of making the presentation goes to the boat show chairman from British Waterways, Simon Ainley.
The central theme of this show this year has been celebrating the 90th birthday, all but a few days, of this steamboat President, which is a very, very significant part of the heritage which I'm sure everybody here is very, very proud to be involved with and feel that it's being supported not just this year but into the many decades in the future. I think they desperately need as much money as they possibly can get. Braunston Boat Show is proud to go public and say that already this year we're confident enough to be able to make them a presentation towards that fund of some £2,000, and this is the cheque for that, which I'd be delighted to hand, but someone just pointed out it's not actually signed. So it'll bounce all the way back from Braidley to here, so if I just sign it...
So that VW, you mean?
There we are, my signature, and all the very best, David.
Thank you, Simon.
God bless you for many decades to come.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you too.
Okay, so it's a photo opportunity now, and then we need to get opening the show, so just bear with us a second.
Smile.
Are we all done?
All done,
Okay.
eh? Fine. Thank
All
you.
right, on we go then.
The cheque will be very welcome.
Projects like this are inherently very, very expensive. We are at this stage uncertain exactly what the new engine is going to cost. We have got the services of a very good design engineer and an engineer, and he has given these services free, which is saving us an immense amount of money. But when it comes to actually producing all the patterns and having it built, that is when the money is going to add up very, very quickly. And so we have got to attempt to raise as much money now to support the engine fund, and that's why we're hoping members of the public will help us to be able to achieve this very, very historically important goal with the boat.
And at last, President and Kildare can lead the parade. Both the media and the general public have gathered to record the event. During her 90th birthday celebrations, President has reached out to many people through the press, the radio and television. She and her crew were even filmed for the BBC's Songs of Praise. Thanks to the hard work and dedication of a great many people, the only coal-fired steam narrowboat on the cut can celebrate her survival and look forward with confidence. But when she was lying a forgotten wreck, who, other than Malcolm Brain, would ever have thought that President could have such a proud day? Happy birthday, President.
I now declare the 1999 Braunston Boat Show open!
David, back this way, please.
More pipes!